All right, welcome to today's show. So we got three big headlines going on today. They all connect. Trump tariffs could get reversed, and the betting markets, the poly markets are saying it's likely. What is the percentage chance? We'll talk about that. MSCI just backed off a rule change. It was a big thing. It was hitting MSTR, keeping the stock price down. And what that basically means is MSTR is not getting excluded from MSCI indexes right now, which is huge. And we'll talk about why. And BMNR is basically trying to become the next strategy, but of Ethereum. And they've got a massive ETH position, and they got a big vote coming up on January 14th that we're going to talk about. So what does this all mean? What happens to the stock market? What happens to Bitcoin and Ethereum with all of this? And what does it mean for MSTR and BMNR going forward? Well, let's jump in and let's chat about it today. Not tax advice, not financial advice, not legal advice. And also remember, if you want to get my book Money Game down below, it's totally free, plus my daily trading strategy of how I trade on a daily basis, sometimes every couple days. So I don't trade every day now, but I use it. My customers use it, and we love it. So learn more about BMNR, MSTR in this book, and about traditional finance versus digital finance. All right, so let's get into the news. What is going on? All right, the pro-tariff argument, because the Trump tariffs are the thing that's kind of hitting the news right now. I'm not here to bash tariffs. Let's just get into what the pro-tariff arguments are, and then the nayers and the sayers and everybody in between. So it protects American industry. It helps bring supply chains home. It reduces dependence on foreign countries. It forces better trade deals. And it also protects strategic industries like chips, energy, and defense. So tariffs can be a tool, and that's been the whole Trump administration viewpoint. But the market only has one real problem with tariffs: uncertainty. Markets can price in almost anything as long as it's consistent. What markets hate is, and we're starting to see this right now, are tariffs staying? Are they going away? Are we refunding money? Are we replacing them with something else? Do trade partners retaliate on this whole thing? So right now, tariffs aren't just a policy issue right now. They're kind of this risk premium that's sitting on top of the whole market. And the big catalyst is that the Supreme Court, there's a fight going on about whether Trump's use of emergency powers under something called IEEPA to impose broad tariffs is legal. Basically, what that means is the IEEPA is like an economic power that the president could enforce if there's threats from overseas economically. Typically, it's been used in the past to freeze assets and things like that. And Trump used that power to actually impose tariffs for economic threats outside of the U.S. So the prediction markets are saying, which poly market is basically saying, they're pricing in a high chance that these tariffs get struck down and reversed, and a 78% likelihood, which aligns with how it's being priced. So the important part, what's the most likely outcome? The most likely outcome based on the poly markets is the courts limit or strike the IEEPA tariff authority. So that would be one. But even if the court rules against the tariffs, that doesn't mean the tariffs vanish overnight. They could delay remedies. They could fight refunds. They could reintroduce tariffs under other trade laws. So what investors are pricing is not just tariffs down, they're pricing what replaces them. So if tariffs are reversed, is the market bullish or bearish? And that's the big question that people have right now. What is going to happen in the markets? What's going to happen to BMNR? What's going to happen to Ethereum? What's going to happen to MSTR? So tariffs reverse generally could be considered bullish. You know, again, once all this is going on, you can expect prices to whipsaw ups, downs all over the place. So there's uncertainty in the marketplace. But tariffs reverse generally could be bullish, lower cost for companies, less inflation pressure, better margins, less friction in global trade. All right. But there's also a second version here. If the reversal is messy, like legal confusion, policy whiplash, retaliation, delays, things like that, the market wobbles and you get a whole bunch of uncertainty. So the truth is the tariff reversal is bullish, but it could create volatility first, right? So, and that's part of why the markets could be choppy today. So let's see what happens. Let's see what's ruled in with the Supreme Court, and let's see this could come to pass as soon as January 10th. Okay, so now let's hit the big win for the day with MSCI in relation to strategy. MSCI was considering a rule change that could have excluded what they call digital asset treasury companies. So you've probably been seeing this all around the internet, creating more uncertainty around strategy, which has been getting beaten up lately for the last several months. And the MSCI hit was basically like, oh, they're going to be excluded from the indexes. And what that means is there would not be passive inflows coming into strategy. And we're talking about billions and billions of dollars of lost passive purchase coming into the stock. And so the rule that just came out is kind of a pause on this, meaning companies where digital assets are a major part of the balance sheet. They were looking to push out like strategy, companies like BMNR and companies like that. And obviously that matters a lot because these indexes have trillions of dollars, and depending on how strategy gets weighted, or if BMNR moves into index, gets voted into indexes as well, that would mean a hit to them of potentially getting billions and millions of dollars of inflows to them. So it's on pause right now, pretty much. MSCI said they're not going to, at this point, exclude companies like strategy or digital asset treasury companies. And so it means they're going to review it. So it's not like a definite, but for now it's a pause, and that's good news for the markets. If MSTR was excluded, index funds and passive funds could have been forced to sell. And that was the main consideration or concern. And, that would create selling pressure, which we probably saw priced in already of MSTR drop, a lot of volatility and a possible drop in price, which we've been seeing. So, you see strategy sitting right now around it was 161 last that I looked. Now it's lower, it's 160, but Bitcoin's dropping to 91,000. And it's interesting how strategy is kind of holding right now, and it's up positive for the day. So that might be a reflection of some of the news that just recently came out. So bottom line, MSCI is not moving forward with excluding these companies right now, meaning digital asset treasury companies. Instead, they're opening up a broader review and consultation to look into this more. So MSTR stays in MSCI indexes for now, and that's a big deal. MSTR is not just a stock. We know this. It is also a Bitcoin proxy. So if you've been following my channel for a while, I've been talking about MSTR for over a year now. And it holds Bitcoin on its balance sheet, obviously. And we know that BMNR, that I'm going to talk about in just a moment, is following the MSTR playbook. And so these companies are just a big part of the digital infrastructure that is being laid out on the blockchain right now. And they're also a big part of what's happening in digital finance. And so, having them included in the indexes, I think, is important. I think we're seeing a change in the entire structure of finance, and we're seeing that by the movement of many large financial institutions on the blockchain. And so MSTR is a very, very important part of digital finance and the future. And so is BMNR, because look at the supply they own of Bitcoin and then the supply that BMNR owns of Ethereum. So it's important that these companies, I think, get included in the indexes, because they deserve to be included in the indexes if they meet the requirements, which MSTR has. So there it is. So now when you have MSTR staying in, it means less forced selling risk and more stable passive ownership going on here. Because these index funds just feed automatic buys of the companies that are in the index, and that's a good thing for strategy in the long term, and also other digital asset treasury companies that might get voted in, like BMR. Okay, so it's not a final victory, just a pause, but it's a good win for now, and we will take the freaking win. It's always good to see good things happening. Okay, so that's the news of what's happening with tariffs. That's the news of what's happening at MSTR. And we're going to get into BMNR right now and talk a little bit about BMNR, because we have the big shareholder vote coming up. Now, down below, if you want my book, Money Game, go snag it. This talks all about BMNR, all about MSTR. Clearly, on every show, I'm not going to go into depth about what these companies are, but this is a great book that describes digital asset treasury companies and also describes Bitcoin and Ethereum. And also, it comes with a trading video of how I'm trading on a weekly and daily basis. So snag it down below. It's totally free. It'll give you way more in depth, and it's a simple read, but it's a very, very good read for people who want more info on these types of companies. Okay. So, and it's free. So snag it. All right. So now let's talk about the big vote that's coming up now with BMNR. This is the one that people are very interested in. I'm getting text messages all the time, mail being sent to me from BMNR. And it's very interesting because BMNR is positioning itself as, the Ethereum treasury company. They own 3.4% of the supply based on their recent reports. And the deadline that's coming up is coming on January 14th for the big vote. So we know that BMNR holds, about $13 billion worth of Ethereum. And depending on the ETH price, that goes up and down. They've also been adding on a weekly basis. So if you watched my video yesterday, they added 32,000 ETH. But here's the part that makes BMNR different. They're not just holding Ethereum, they're staking Ethereum now. So in yesterday's video, I talked about the fact that they're staking, and they're pushing this staking infrastructure strategy called Maven, M-A-V-A-N. That's Made in America Validator Network, planned for early 2026. They're already staking right now, and they've started staking some of their ETH. And so the BMNR pitch on basically what the company's doing is they hold a massive ETH position, and that's number one. And we've seen them accumulating ETH pretty much every single week for the last 5 months. Number two, they're staking it. So the difference between MSTR and BMNR is with MSTR, they hold BMNR, and that's simple. And then they issue all kinds of products around it, like Strife and Stride and Strike and all that. But BMNR is holding Ethereum, and then they're staking it. So what that does is that allows them to not only get the increase in the value of Ethereum as it goes up, or the decrease if it goes down, but Ethereum becoming a main infrastructure for digital finance. As Ethereum goes up, it allows the value of BMNR to go up as well. And they have a massive position in ETH. But also, if they stake it, they get an income stream coming into the company. So it's kind of like two big wins for the company, is like an income stream and the value of their ETH going up, which can drive the stock price up. Also, income coming into the company is a big thing, because people are going to start to look at this and go, wow, they're making $10 million a year and $50 million a year and $300 million a year and $400 million a year by staking their Ethereum. One day, I believe that BitMine will make $1 billion a year by staking their Ethereum. And so that's hence, like, they're pushing very hard to get to 5% of the supply. They're pushing very hard on the vote that's coming up right now. And it's like a very, very powerful company. And so that's what it is. And the price doesn't reflect it right now because it's sitting at $31. But let's not forget, this price has shot up to $65 a couple times in the last 6 months. So let's see what happens for the future. Everything that I'm doing in terms of these companies, MSTR and BMNR, is for the long term right now. The only thing I'm doing in the short term is trading, and I have a certain portion of my money allocated for trading, and then I trade that on a daily or a weekly basis to pick up more shares of the underlying stock. Okay. Again, my trading strategy is down below. You can get the video for free if you want it when you download the book. Okay. So that's the big story. So the massive authorized share vote, it's going to be happening in Vegas coming up, from 500 million shares to 50 billion shares. This is the massive increase. It's just asking for authorization. It's not like all of a sudden they're going to come in and hit everybody with a whammy and issue, 50 billion shares the moment they get the approval. That's highly, highly unlikely that would ever happen, right? It's the authorization of it, meaning they're authorized to do it at any given time in the future so that they can stick to their strategy, which is issuing more shares when the stock is trading at a premium, meaning when the stock trades above the net asset value of its Ethereum on its balance sheet, that means it's trading at a premium. So when investors go buy BMNR and it's trading at a premium, they're paying more for the actual stock compared to the net asset value of the Ethereum and everything else they have on their balance sheet. So when they issue shares, when they're trading at a premium, they're able to take those excess dollars that they're getting because it's at a premium, right? And they're buying Ethereum with it. And so that is accretive for shareholders over the long term, which brings in more ETH per share. So when you hear about companies like Strategy, more Bitcoin per share. When you hear about companies like BMNR, more ETH per share. That is one of the primary goals of the entire existence of these companies, is to get their shareholders more. So anything can happen in the future. We don't know what management's going to do, but you got to look at these companies. Do you trust management? Do you trust the leadership? Because ultimately, they're going to decide what they're going to do with their policies of being able to issue more shares to then take that money and buy more Ethereum, or in Strategy's case, to buy more Bitcoin, right? And so far, if you look at the Strategy playbook, they've stuck to their game plan to continue to buy more and more Bitcoin, and they buy pretty much every single week. And that's why they own over 3% of supply. And BMNR is just following a pretty, very, very, very similar playbook. And that's it. Okay. So there you go. In the short term, there's nobody knows right now what's going to happen with the stock price of what's going to happen. All the models, as I said in the past, are dead from the last 4-year cycle. We are an institutional game now. And so what we were all expecting last year did not happen. And so I think everybody was wrong that I know in relation to that. So now we look at a new future. We look at a new foundation of a financial industry being built between traditional finance and digital finance. And then when the two worlds are merging together to create a whole new ecosystem, which means we're in a new space that's never been, or a new territory that's never been charted before. So just expect changes, volatility, ups and downs. And the thing that one needs to ask himself, that I ask myself, none of this is financial advice, I ask myself, what do I believe about the future of BMNR and MSTR and Bitcoin and Ethereum? Because those are the primary investments that I hold. And what I believe is a big, big, beautiful future. And when I say that, I'm looking at 4-year time horizons now at this point. And that's my entire game plan. So BMNR, is it a yes? Is it a yes for BMNR on the vote? Should they be authorized to have $50 billion worth of issuing power? Or is it a no? And so you got to vote on that yourself. I think they should be authorized for it because I believe in the strategy of BMNR going not just for 5% of the ETH supply, even though that's their game. I think they're going to get more than 5% of the ETH supply. And I think the possibility is even 6, 7, 8, maybe even more. Okay. Who knows if it'll happen? But if they continue to buy like this, let's not forget in the last 6 months, they've accumulated 3.4% of the entire supply of ETH, and they're just getting started. So what happens when the company gets stronger and they get more ETH on their balance sheet and they get more powerful and they continue to stake more of their ETH and they have $400 million a year coming in off staking income? They're going to be a highly, highly valued company and a force in the world that owns 3, 4, 5, 6% of one of the most powerful infrastructures of financial technology on the planet, which is the blockchain. And they're going to control that portion of it that they own. And they're going to influence Wall Street in a heavy, 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 heavy way with this, because they got Wall Street investors, they got blue chip investors in the company, they got institutional investors in the company who want it to succeed. So BMNR and the chairman, Tom Lee, is going to influence Wall Street. Wall Street's going to influence him, and they've partnered up, and it's now become an institutional game. And the blockchain infrastructure it's done. It's written. Like, it's not going anywhere. It is the future. And everybody's voted on it. Wall Street's voted on it in terms of, you look at the large companies that are moving there now. People who are crypto lovers have voted on it. People who are buying in terms of like BMNR buying more Ethereum, they're voting on it with their wallet, buying more Ethereum. So is MSTR. And BlackRock's voted on it. They got the most Bitcoin out of anybody on the planet. Nation states are voting on it right now by accumulating Bitcoin. So you've just got an entire economy that's voting on it with their wallets. And you got a lot of retail that's been shaken out and freaked out. And why wouldn't retail be freaked out? October 10th basically destroyed a lot of people's portfolios. So and that hurts in the short term, but it doesn't change the fact that the future of finance is digital. And as far as I'm concerned, we take the hits, we take the blows. I speak for myself personally, but I'm holding into the future of this this economy, and meaning the new digital economy. So I hope it serves you of like some good news that's happening right now, but also there's lots of just uncertainty in the marketplace. And we do need Bitcoin to hold, man. We need Bitcoin to hold, above $93,000, $94,000. And we needed to push through 95. It hasn't pushed through the 95K ceiling, and it's not holding right now. It's sitting down at 91,000. And I think part of that is with the uncertainty that came in with the tariff news. So let's see what happens. Keep your eye on January 14th with the vote for BMNR that's happening at the win in Las Vegas. BMNR is definitely becoming the strategy of Ethereum, the MicroStrategy of Ethereum. So let's see what's going on. These assets are definitely maturing in the marketplace. If you look at Bitcoin right now, it is a macro asset. It's not just moving like it did in the past based on crypto news and what's going on in the crypto marketplace. It's moving based on interest rates. It's moving based on what's going on in the global economy, the money supply, all of that. And so you're looking at, Bitcoin and Ethereum becoming macro assets in the world today. And so it's a change, and change creates uncertainty. So, stay tough, stay strong, whatever that means for you, whether it's getting educated on stuff, whether it's doing whatever you do with your positions, not financial advice from me. But I'm still in it to win it with these stocks and with these with digital asset treasury companies and with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I hope all this serves you, and I hope you're doing well during this time. And it's nice to hear a little good news for MSTR. And we'll see what happens with the tariffs and the vote with BMNR. So in summary, basically final things that we covered today is simple. Tariffs, not automatically good or bad. The poly markets are saying 78% likelihood that the Supreme Court reverses the tariffs, but markets hate uncertainty, so like expect a lot of uncertainty. MSTR MSCI has backed off the exclusion of digital asset treasury companies, which means MSTR stays in the indexes for now, which is a big win. And BMNR, the whole narrative with BMNR is they've got massive amounts of Ethereum, $13 billion worth. They're starting to stake Ethereum. They're doing everything they said they were going to do, and they've got this big authorized share vote coming up on January 14th. And let's continue to root on these companies and hope they flourish and prosper for the future. And I hope that you flourish and prosper too. Okay. If you want to grab my book, you can grab it down below. It's a great book. It's like everything's simplified, put in very, very simple language. And it's called The Money Game. And it also talks about the 10% lie that exists in the world of how 10 to 12% rates of return don't cut it anymore. And how with taxes and inflation and asset inflation cuts away at your returns and management fees. So it's good data on just finance in general. And then I then exit out of traditional finance and all the flaws with it into digital finance with MicroStrategy, BMNR, Ethereum, etc. So it's all in the book. And then when you get the book for free, you also get a video for free on my trading strategy. All right. Hope it serves you. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with somebody if you think it's helpful. And I'll see you guys on the next show. Have a great rest of the day. And I hope you flourish and prosper this week and this year and have a great 2026. See you soon.